This is the word of the week for Sunday, March 8th. Courage to change. Today's scripture passage is from John chapter 4, verses 5 to 7, verses 9 to 12, verses 20 to 21, and verse 23. Jesus came to a town of Samaria. Jacob's well was there. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." "How can you, a Jew, ask me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink? If you knew the gift of God and who is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. Sir, you do not even have a bucket, and the cistern is deep. Where then can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob? Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you people say that the place to worship is in Jerusalem. Believe me, woman, the hour is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. The hour is coming and is now here when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth." Reflection. Jacob's well at the foot of Mount Gerizim is a holy place for Samaritans. During Jesus' time, a woman approaching the well might have been surprised to see a Jewish man sitting there. A less courageous woman probably would have turned back toward the village. This woman did not. Perhaps she was thirsty or felt a certain defensiveness about this site, sacred in her tradition. She would have had no intention of engaging in a religious discussion with the Jewish man, but he started it and their conversation changed her. Without denying the validity of either of their religious traditions, Jesus suggested true worship is not determined by where you worship, but rather by an openness to spirit and truth. His words burst through her parochial notion of worship. Churches, like wells, offer water to certain people in certain places. Just as wells draw from an underground source, so too religious traditions draw from what Jesus called living water. Just as it is important not to confuse a bucketful of well water with the immensity of its source, let us not assume that any religious tradition completely conveys an understanding of divine life. Everyone is invited to drink the living water that refreshes and enlivens, and that living water may look and taste a bit different depending on the bucket it fills. The Samaritan woman's conversation with the Jewish man changed her perspective from a limited to a more inclusive understanding. Raised to a new level of consciousness, she shared her experience, and her, quote, testimony was persuasive enough to lead the people of her city to invite Jesus to stay there, a highly unusual breach of boundaries between people who do not share dishes, end quote. From L. William Countryman, The Mystical Way in the Fourth Gospel. May our willingness to share our lives breach known and unknown boundaries. May our shared experiences awaken us all to the living waters that connect all humanity, all life. Meditations. There are 3 meditations for today. The first is from John F. Kavanaugh's The Word Embodied. Thirst led the Samaritan woman not only to a well, but to Jesus, who would refresh her spirit and renew her world. Remember, it is Jesus who asked the woman for a drink. It is he who reached out to her. As great as our dry thirst and wide yearning may be, it is God's eternal thirst for us, for our faith, for our trust, our love, that is the central mystery of being. We are invited to drink of this mystery, the outpouring of love, the thirst of God in us. But that is not even half the story. More vast than the furthest reaches of our thirst to be known and loved is the God who longs to be our living water. The second meditation is from Joy Andrews Hayter's article, Thomas Keating's Call to Wisdom. Jesus encouraged dying to the small egoic self and all its desires, which in Keating's framework may be called the emotional programs for happiness, safety and security, esteem and affection, power and control, to rely instead on the living water of the Spirit. And he encouraged us to open up to the kingdom of heaven, which he assured us was within us and all around us, rather than in some remote place we might earn the right to go to someday. The third meditation is from Richard Rohr's Breathing Underwater. Prayer and meditation lead us to conscious contact with God, beyond mere repetition of correct titles and names and formulas which religions fight about, leading us to real inner knowledge of God's will for us instead of just external commandments, and the power to carry it out, actual empowerment and new motivation from a deeper source. For years, I was a part of competing church services at the local Albuquerque jail, where each group divided over externals of worship styles, denominational histories, and vocabulary. When we did contemplative or centering prayer together, however, most of those divisions meant nothing. People's willingness to find God in their own struggle with life and let it change them is their deepest and truest obedience to God.
To practice. There are 3 suggested practices for this week. Practice number 1. Set an intention to fast from beverages for a certain amount of time, long enough to ensure that you will experience thirst, but not so long as to be in any way injurious to your health. After your fast, use whatever creative art form appeals to you to describe or depict having your thirst quenched. After that, consider how having a thirst quenched might relate to experiences on your spiritual journey. Practice number 2. The third season of the podcast, Opening Minds, Opening Hearts, explores, quote, the origins of the Snowmass Dialogues of 1984, the key points of agreement across various religious traditions, the importance of interfaith solidarity, the non-dual nature of God, and the interconnectedness of different sacred traditions. End quote. There are 11 episodes. You might enjoy listening to one or more. If interested, you can access these episodes wherever you get podcasts or through the link in today's email. Practice number 3. In God of Love, Mirabai Starr describes an experience that changed her. Quote, I had an epiphany. The God I was worshiping was actually a formless absolute, beyond the beyond the beyond. Any attempt to define this sacred reality violated its very nature. This terrifying confrontation with unnameable truth was quickly and mercifully followed by an insight. The same supreme reality that surpassed all understanding was accessible through every Sanskrit chant, Hebrew prayer, and Christian hymn, through Buddhist meditation retreats, and affirmations of the merciful and compassionate nature of Allah, through deep silence and unbridled song. By way of the many, I had encountered the One. From that day on, I no longer saw any conflict between form and formlessness. All the sacred images and spiritual concepts were nothing more than approximations of the boundless source of love, and nothing less than roadmaps home to that love. End quote. Consider any experience you have had with another religious tradition. What do you remember noticing, feeling? And some further notes. Post your reflections and prayer requests as prescribed in today's email. If you would like to donate to support the Word of the Week, you may do so through the link in today's email. Any amount is greatly appreciated. There are 3 weekly live Zoom prayer groups to support your practice and spiritual journey. Tuesdays from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern, New York time. Wednesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. And Thursdays from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern time. Each prayer group has slightly different reflection excerpts. Therefore, some participants attend more than one. You can find the links for these prayer groups in today's email. Lastly, additional opportunities to support your silent prayer practice and spiritual journey are offered in the Meditation Chapel, a Zoom-enabled worldwide meditation community. All groups are free and open to all. You can find out more by clicking on the links in today's email.